Mercury goes retrograde August 4th, 2024. In this video, I'm helping you with what you need to be ready for it. So we're going to have two parts to this video. The first part, I'm going to tell you the dates to be conscious of for everyone and what to be aware of during those dates. And then I'm going to go through each sign of the zodiac and give you a little more info on what areas of life are probably going to be more affected. And this is something you need to know. Mercury retrograde is more than just we're reassessing conversations and communication. It's going to have to do with reevaluating different areas of life based on your chart. So that's why they show up differently for everyone. Let's get into the dates. And if you want more on this, I do have a free guide that I made. So if you want to get that, click the link below. So we're going to start on the actual retrograde happens on August 4th, but there's something that happens before that. It already happened, and that was Mercury entered shadow. So Mercury entered shadow on July 16th. So think about what was happening on July 16th related to the topics that I talk about when I get to your sign, and something maybe was foreshadowed. Usually the shadow period isn't something huge, it's something very subtle, and sometimes we can't even figure it out until we know what the other stuff is. So it's okay to figure it out afterwards as well. You still get insight. Sometimes the things that happen later in the Mercury retrograde make it all make sense. Now we get to the big main event. Mercury goes retrograde on the 4th of August. So on this date, what you need to be aware of is what you become conscious of or aware of that you feel needs to change. Sometimes this is something that happens in the physical world that prompts a reevaluation. But also know that the 4th isn't the day to figure it out. It's the day we start rethinking or reevaluating. On August 18th, Mercury meets up with the sun. This is called the cazimi. And during the cazimi, we get a flash of insight. That insight is not always fun to get, or we get some kind of just big awareness of something. So pay attention to what kind of big awareness happens in your life on August 18th, especially related to what was starting to need to be reevaluated back on the 4th. Then on August 28th, this is when Mercury goes direct. So now we have the path ahead. This is when to expect to be able to maybe not solve whatever you were reevaluating fully or completely, but it's like now you have a new roadmap. Now the road is clear. Now you kind of know what you're going to do about it. Or you have a way to get that information that you didn't have before. On September 11th, this is when Mercury leaves shadow. So this is like now we have the map and we're taking steps on the journey. So that's the timeline for this Mercury retrograde. So you'll want to consider those 5 different points in the process and really be conscious of this, because this is how you use astrology for your highest potential, is to be conscious of what the transits are really doing. So now let's go on to how it's going to affect the different signs of the zodiac. So for Aries, Mercury is going retrograde in your 6th house of Virgo, and it's going to retrograde back into your 5th house. And that is where it's going to go direct, which means you might be rethinking how you spend your time and how much fun you're having. Are you able to use your life force energy and impart your creativity? Are you stuck doing chores all the time? Is there stuff happening with your car? For everyone, it'll be a little different, but it really gets the feeling of like, how much of your time are you doing chores, menial work, stuff that there's no outcome, there's no, benefit, versus how much of your time are you able to spend being you and birthing things into being that you want to. So that's what this Mercury retrograde is about for Aries. For Taurus, Mercury will retrograde in your 4th house Mercury will retrograde in your 5th house of Virgo, and it will go direct in your 4th house of Leo. So it's all about, are you being yourself? Are you able to create what you want to create? Are you, directing your life force energy where you want it? If you're self-employed or you do creative stuff, are you spending the time on that you want to? Are you able to be yourself? And it's retrograding into the 4th house. So this might either be something like, do you have family commitments or connections or dynamics that are stopping you from going after what you want in life or stopping you from being you? Or are you just working on reworking certain commitments to family or home so that there's more space for creativity? That's what's happening for Taurus for this Mercury retrograde. For Geminis, Mercury goes retrograde in your 4th house and it will go direct in your 3rd house. And this is a bigger one for Geminis because, especially if you're Gemini rising, Mercury rules you. So it's an important transit for Gemini and Virgo risings. But Mercury retrograde in the 4th is my house a home? Do I have the emotional or physical foundation in life that I need? Retrograding into the 3rd house can also bring up issues around siblings or transportation or your local environment. Some Geminis out there might actually want to move or feel like they need to change the dynamics in their home or the space in their home, the actual physical space in their home, or change how much time they're spending at home. Because the 3rd house being your local environment when it comes to transits has to do with like, how much time do you spend eating out versus eating at home? How much time are you on the road versus at home? How much time are you spending running your errands and going to the grocery store and like being busy, but it's like busy running around and doing stuff. So it might be that you need to do more and you're reevaluating how you can accomplish more, or like, how you can stop by more places as you're driving home, or something related to your actual environment is an issue that makes it challenging to have peace in your home, or something else along those lines. So for Geminis, paying attention to topics of home, family, parents, your own family, if you have one, or your car, your transportation, or your local neighborhood, your neighbors, your roommates and stuff. Okay, going on now to Cancer. For Cancers, Mercury will retrograde in your 3rd house of Virgo, and it will go direct in your 2nd house of Leo. So this is all about how you're spending your time and how you're spending your money. You might be reassessing your local environment. You might be reassessing who your neighbors are, what your relationship is with siblings or the people that are closest to you, how you spend your time from day to day. And also, is that making money? So for a lot of Cancers, it's going to be like, is my time making money and how can I get it to make more? Or am I so busy that I can't even spend my money? Or, am I not getting enough hours and I need to get more? Things like that. But it could also just be one event, like something happens in your car and now you have to pay for that. And you have to figure out how to budget it, right? It might not be some huge life-changing event. And with Mercury going direct in the 2nd house, it feels like there might be some awareness at that time around finances. And that could be anything, right? It could be just getting an idea of how to reach the next financial level you want to reach. It doesn't have to be because something horrible happened. Okay, so transportation, local environment, and money are the key topics to consider for Cancers. So going on now to our Leos, Mercury will retrograde in your 2nd house of Virgo, and it'll go direct in your 1st house of Leo. That's you. So this one's really going to be about money and identity. So how do you spend your money? Is it in alignment with your values? Are there challenges there to overcome? Is there some budgeting to do? Are there some things that need to be sold? Do you need to go get more furniture because you moved? Things related to finances and possessions are going to come under this retrograde. But then also your identity, like who you are, and how does how much money you make affect who you are as a person and affect your identity and affect your self-esteem? And who do you need to be so you can be proud of yourself, Leo? That's what we're going to see being the key topics during this Mercury retrograde. For Virgos, this will be a very significant Mercury retrograde because not only does Mercury rule you in your rising sign, it also rules your career, and it is going retrograde in your 1st house, which is you. So Mercury retrograde in the 1st house is reassessing, who am I? What am I doing with my life? And what do I do for work? How does that affect my identity? And so a lot of kind of big questions. You might be reworking certain projects you're working on related to your work, or you might be considering changing your line of work or changing where you live or some other bigger life change. Mercury will retrograde back into your 12th house and go direct there in Leo. So that's going to be on, let me see, August 28th, where it will go direct. So that's going to be about kind of figuring out how maybe you are self-sabotaging your own plans. If that's the case, it might also be about kind of working behind the scenes, because that'll be your 10th ruler in the 12th house, to, put something out there or create something new or, do something differently. Just working behind the scenes to reassess and reevaluate your future plan. And then the date that you might be able to move forward here is going to be September 11th. It doesn't mean you can't move forward before then in areas, but whatever this Mercury retrograde is about for you, it's going to probably be bigger life stuff and kind of figuring out what to do with this stage of your life. So also look at August 18th, look at what you learn and uncover and realize about self-sabotage or what you're afraid of, or what if you're holding yourself back, or if you're not seeing how good you are. Look at what's going on. Bring your conscious awareness to that around the 18th, because there might be something going on with that Kanzimi moment. So for Virgos, it's a big one, good one to pay attention to, and just be conscious while you're taking those steps on your path. So going on now to our next sign is Libra. For Libras, this Mercury retrograde will retrograde in your 12th house and retrograde back into your 11th house and go direct there in your 11th house of Leo. So for Libras, it's all about, reassessing what you do behind the scenes, how much privacy you have, how much free time you have, how much it's probably going to be reassessing your spiritual life, because Mercury rules your 9th and 12th house. These are very private, not just private, but like spiritual houses, right? It's like 12th house is like psychology, 9th house is the house of God. It is like our spiritual path. So your spiritual path is kind of under review, probably by you at this time. And that might be because of an external thing or just some internal feelings. So then when it goes direct in your 11th house on August 28th, this is when you can kind of see there's a path ahead related to either shaping your hopes and dreams based on where you are on your spiritual path, or maybe even something related to the people you're around and sort of a new project, a new focus related to your social circles or your colleagues or coworkers, people you see in groups in public, anyone who would fall under that category. Around the 28th, we're going to see some forward momentum here. And then when Mercury gets out of shadow, that's going to be on September 11th. And so that's when maybe there's even more awareness of how to proceed with clarity. So it's all about, kind of figuring yourself out a little bit on this one, and then how that relates to the groups of people that you work with or that you're around. Okay, so now we're going on to Scorpios. For Scorpio, this Mercury retrograde will start in your 11th house and it'll go direct in your 10th house. So reevaluating your friends, who you spend your time with. Are the people that you spend your time with the people that you want to be spending your time with? How close are you to them? What level of intimacy do you have with the other people in your life? How many of your friends are your partner's friends versus your friends? Maybe there's some awareness around this. Maybe something comes up that makes you realize that the friends in your life or the people you're around, there's something that it needs adjustment here, or something that a little problem maybe that you become aware of. And then it will go direct, Mercury will, in your 10th house on August 28th. So here we have some moving ahead energy. This is where we get to we have the insight, we have the awareness. Now we're ready to move forward again. So at this point, whatever was happening back on the 4th with the friends or the people, the others around you, is probably going to have some kind of an effect on what you're doing to move forward with your career. And so for some Scorpios, if you are doing work that relates to an audience or groups of people, then this would make absolute sense. For those who maybe that doesn't apply to you, this could be two different things happening, or just, realizing how your hopes and dreams are maybe not quite, something needs to be adjusted in your current work. And that adjustment phase might be happening on the 10th. It might not be something huge though, right? It might be just a little awareness and some little things that need to change with your role in life in order to be like the person you want to be. So we're going to go on now to Sagittarius. For Sagittarius, Mercury goes retrograde in your 10th house. It retrogrades back into your 9th house, and that's where it will go direct. So Mercury retrograde in the 10th house on August 4th is going to have you rethinking certain things about your role in life. Is it the role you want to have? Is it working for you? Are you getting the level of recognition, respect, authority, and power, ability to be who you want to be in your job, in your career, in your role in life? If not, Mercury retrograde is going to kind of show you this. And even if it is, Mercury will show you what still needs further improvement or changes. Now, when it goes direct in the 9th house, the house of God, the house of travel, the house of foreign languages, you may find that if the 9th house is related to your career, like you're a teacher, you speak a foreign language, or you do something spiritual, or you work with the law or something, well then this is all about career. And it's going to be all about aligning that career with what you believe in, or aligning that career with knowledge you have, or things you know how to do that you've already learned, and kind of putting those things together and coordinating them in a new way. There's sort of this integration that I feel for Sagittarius is on this. But either way, by the time Mercury gets out of shadow, that's going to be September 11th. Mercury will be back in your 10th house again. And so this is when you can kind of expect to see, now you have the map and you know what next step to take. And this whole process is going to be kind of figuring those things out and getting that awareness. Going on now to Capricorn. For Capricorns, this Mercury retrograde is happening in your 9th house. It'll retrograde back into your 8th house and then go direct there. So Mercury retrograde in the 9th for Capricorn is about, what do I believe? And because Mercury rules your 6th house, it might also be, am I doing work that I believe in? Do I feel like my work is getting me somewhere? The path in life that I've always wanted, is my job and what I spend my time doing day to day, is it allowing me to do that? Or, it can also be something a lot less life-changing, like something like, did I read all the spiritual books that I wanted to? Am I meditating? Am I taking what I believe and putting it into my everyday life? This might be a time where Capricorns are like, I'm going back to read this book every day again, or I'm going to learn that thing I've always wanted to, or maybe I'm going to travel to this country I always wanted to go to, just depending on which of those 9th house topics speaks more to your heart. So that's what I have for Capricorns. Going on now to Aquarius. For Aquarius, this Mercury retrograde is going to start in your 8th house and go direct in your 7th house. So the 8th house is like, who do I trust? Who am I intimate with? Am I intimate with enough people? Do I have enough people close to me who I can rely on? How much am I sharing with others? And how much independence do I have? There might be something that challenges that, where you need to, open up a little more, or it could go the other way where there's too much openness, there's too much sharing, there's too many cooks in the kitchen in my life, and now I need to, whittle that down to what it should be. Because Mercury rules your 5th and 8th house, for some Aquariuses, especially if you're coupled, this is going to have to do with the intimacy in your relationship. And, is that going how it needs to go? Maybe there's some awareness there. And I'm not saying it's not the worst case scenario. It could just be that, like, are both partners getting their needs met? And can you trust them? Can they trust you? Is there trust? That would be the question I think you might be asking. And that question of, is there trust? It might show up in all areas of your life. Is there trust at work? Is someone at work betraying you and you just found out? Is there something else going on where you just realize someone lied to you, so now you know you can't trust them? It might not be life-changing, but the question is there trust? And when Mercury goes direct, it will go direct in your 7th house of relationships. That's going to be on August 28th. Maybe that will be the time where you figure out, okay, here there's trust, here there isn't, and this is what I'm going to do about it. That's kind of the story that I feel, whether you're coupled or whether you're not. So going on now to Pisces. For Pisces, Mercury will retrograde in your 7th house of Gemini, and it will retrograde back into, no, your 7th house is not Gemini. Sorry. Mercury will retrograde in your 7th house of Virgo, and it will retrograde back into your 6th house of Leo, and then it will go direct there in the 6th house. So retrograde in the 7th is like, what are my relationships? This can be whether you're single or not, whether you're single or in a relationship. What are the other people around me? Do I trust them? Do I care about them? Do they care about me? Am I getting what I need? Do they get what they need? Questions about other people. It's other people, right? So who are the other people that are most important in your life besides like your family right now? That's going to be your 7th house. It doesn't just have to be your partner. If you're in a relationship, it's probably going to be your partner. So then having it go direct in the 6th house means we're looking at not just our dynamics with other people, but it's almost like how much other people are doing the chores and how much we're doing the chores. Maybe, your partner's been cleaning the bathroom every week. Now it's your turn to clean the bathroom for a while. Maybe it is the other way around where it's like, I can't keep doing everything for you. Now, if you're not in a relationship, it can still be with the others in your life. So if you live with roommates, who's cleaning the bathroom, right? Who's checking the mail? Who's doing all this stuff? This might be the question. And depending on what stage of life you're in, like if you have a business and you're hiring people, it might be who's doing the work, right? Who allocating it or figuring it out. If that doesn't apply to you, then that's not about you. But overall, it's who is doing the chores, who's doing the dishes, who's cleaning the toilets, who is doing all the little things every day to take care of everything. And it might be you, Pisces. It might be you have to do more chores because you realize that in order to have the relationships you want, for some reason, I don't even know what this would be. It's like you have to keep it up. Like maybe you're a Pisces who just started dating and you're like, now I got to clean my house so that if someone comes over, it's not a pigsty, or a million other things, right? Just keep in mind, here are the dates to keep in mind. On August 4th, this is when the questions are going to come up. You won't have the answers yet. On August 18th, this is where you might get the awareness. And on August 28th, when Mercury goes direct, this is where you will probably have some access to some kind of solution, or the energy will be ready for you to come up with the solution at that point in time. So that is what I have for Pisces. It's all about relationship dynamics. Who's doing what? How much are you doing for people? If you have a business, this could be about how much you do for your clients and changing that up so that either they're doing more to work with you or you are doing more to work with them, kind of a thing. So that's what I have for Pisces. And that's what I have for everyone, you guys. If you want more on this, you can check out my free guide to this Mercury retrograde that tells you, it just gives you the exact dates and the houses, and it tells you what the houses mean. So you can just do some more reflecting on your own about what retrogrades mean. I have found this to be the most beneficial in my life. Instead of just saying, oh, my electronics aren't going to work for a few weeks. So if you're like me and you want to go beyond that, I highly recommend checking it out. Either way, have a good Mercury retrograde, and I'll see you guys in the next video.